Good morning, everybody, and welcome to your Rangers review morning briefing for Thursday, the 13th of March. It's game day as Rangers take on Fenerbahce at Ibrox to look ahead to said game. Jonny McFarlane joins us. How's it going, Jonny?
Good, mate. Looking forward to this chat and obviously the game tonight. I'm going to Ibrox tonight for the first time in a while, so really looking forward to what should be a really, really special atmosphere and hopefully a terrific game.
Yep, let's hope Rangers can finish the job off after that brilliant result over in Turkey last week. I'd imagine Ibrox will be what it usually is on a European night. I'm sure the fans will play their part as well. And we'll have you covered, of course, as well, folks. If you're not making the trip to Ibrox tonight, I think... as well as Jonny, I think everyone's heading over there from Ranger Review HQ pretty much. So, we'll have the usual pre-match, post-match content and all the reaction from manager and players as well. But before we get stuck into today's show, as you all know, the Ranger Review is now brought to you by S1 Jobs. Now it's time to hand in your transfer request and head over to S1 Jobs and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Glasgow, Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you'll find them on S1 Jobs. So start your search today. And also remember, just if you want to get your point across, folks, you have to be a subscriber to the channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. It is totally free, remember, but if you want to make your point to myself and Jonny this morning, then you do have to be a subscriber. Right, let's get stuck right in. It was press conference day yesterday. We heard from Barry Ferguson and Conor Barron, interestingly. I mean, we did hear from him after the game last week, so a bit surprised to see him being put up for the press again, but spoke well, as he usually does. And Jose Mourinho also pitched up at Ibrox later on, early evening time, to speak ahead of the game. I think the big headline from what he had to say was he felt Fenerbahce are a better team than Rangers. It was interesting to hear from Jose. I liked when he spoke about being at Ibrox before, and he went sort of incognito, if you like, for an old firm game back in 2003, before the UEFA Cup final when his Porto team defeated Celtic. He has been at Ibrox in a coaching capacity before, of course, when he took his Chelsea team to Rangers for a pre-season friendly. That famous, lovely afternoon in the sunshine at Ibrox when Rangers won by 2-0. But both press conferences yesterday, Jonny, I've touched on Mourinho first of all. Good to have him in Glasgow. I expected the whole mind games to kick off. What did you make of it?
Yeah, there was a bit of mind games going on, and I think Barry would be well advised to steer clear of doing what Jose Mourinho wants, which is for Rangers to come, I think, and attack the team and really come out from the start and try to put the tie to bed. I think that would be very, very dangerous. Mourinho's teams traditionally have always been good on transitions. That's how he's been as a coach from the get-go. And while they didn't look like that in the first leg, I wouldn't give Jose the avenue back into the game that might offer. I think Rangers need to sit in a low block, exactly like they did in the first game, and they need to say to Fenerbahce effectively, you come and break us down. You need to score the 2 goals. Come at us. And what that will do is that will leave the space in behind for Rangers to attack with Vaclav Černý especially, but also Cyril Dessers and maybe Egeman when he comes on later in the game, because I don't expect him to start. That to me is absolutely the way you have to do it tactically, the smart way to do it. Some people won't like that. They think you have to come out and at them at home, but this isn't about anything other than getting into the quarterfinals. And to me, it's the exact same setup. Make Fenerbahce come onto you and then hit them on the break. I don't think Rangers have got the quality to go in and hit them like a hurricane and break them down. That's not the way this Rangers team gets success. So Jose said several times, I'm set up to deal with 2 types of Rangers, the same Rangers that we saw in Istanbul and a more attacking Rangers. And I suspect, given he was putting out the sound bites like, I'm not sure Ibrox will be able to cope with the idea of a low block Rangers. I mean, what is he trying to do with that other than goad Barry Ferguson, an inexperienced manager, into thinking, I'm going to have a go and put this tie beyond doubt. And you know, I hope people around Barry are saying to him, like, read the tea leaves here with what he's trying to do.
Yeah,
it's pretty transparent stuff.
Yeah, I do enjoy the sort of circus around Josie, I've got to say. He did say yesterday, I don't know if Ibrox, as a very iconic British stadium, like many in Scotland and England, I don't know if they will accept a very defensive performance like they had in Fenerbahce. It was successful for them, but a very defensive performance. I don't know if they're going to accept it, but we are prepared for both, for Rangers to try and play the same way. The low block, waiting for our mistake, and the counter-attack with Czerny and Diamandi, or Ferguson decides to play in a different way and they have a go at us. They try to start very strong and score. I don't know if we have to be patient in case we dominate the game against a defensive team, or I don't know if we have to be strong defensively to cope with the first impact of a football team that wants to kill the game. So that's what Josie had to say. Interestingly, says a defensive performance last week. Some defensive performance when Rangers really should have won by 5-1. Quite something really, but I'm sure Barry won't be taking much notice of what Mourinho had to say. He'll have the players, I'm sure, well drilled, as will the coaching staff, and how to approach this game. You mentioned there, Johnny, do you think it will sit in that sort of low block and just carbon copy of last week? It's what Rangers are used to. I think the crowd will be quite happy with that. Or, I mean, I've said it in videos before, I would personally like to see Rangers go out there, take the game by the jugular and go and get an early goal. I think an early goal kills it for me.
But that's if you get it. And if you don't get it, you leave spacing behind and then Fenerbahce get back into the game. Why do Rangers need to take the onus in this game? They don't. They're 2-0 up, effectively. They took 2 goals advantage, 3-1 up. So I just don't think you need to be taking the game by the scruff of the neck from a tactical point of view. You need to say, right, Josie, what have you got? You come and show us, and then we'll react. And to me, that's the way to handle it. The crowd need to be patient, absolutely, as Mr. Calder is saying there. I totally agree with that. This idea that Rangers go out with heavy metal football and go at them, Rangers haven't been able to produce that heavy metal football against the likes of Ross County and St Johnstone. So why are they going to be able to produce it against Fenerbahce? I don't think so, not in that style. So go in there with a sort of tactical plan and ask them to do what they're not comfortable doing. Now, listen, Fenerbahce have got players who are capable of pinging one in from 35 yards, and that might change things. You know, Tadic in particular has got a good ping on him, fires one in through the low block after 4 or 5 minutes. Then it's a different story. But that's football. Football is not an exact science, and you have to be able to be flexible in your approach. And Barry's already shown that in the first game in a way that certainly Philippe Clement would have been. I was interested to hear Alex Ray, and he was talking about the game and how delighted he was to see Rangers perform in the game against Fenerbahce. And a very pertinent question was put to him, which was, do you think Philippe Clement would have gone to a back 5 in that game? And Alex Ray said, no, he wouldn't have, because that is the way he played the game, with the back 4 and the system that he used. That's what gave him success in the past. So there's no way he would change it up. And I agree with that. I don't know about you, Derek. Philippe Clement never showed any. He didn't waver, did he, from the formation that he liked to use? Whereas Barry's already given an indication that he's going to be a guy who does horses for courses. He's going to look at the opposition. He said that himself, and then make adjustments from there. And to me, that's the right kind of mentality for a Rangers manager. I'm not sure you can have that full on, we're going to come at everything the same way mentality, and for it to be totally successful across all the areas Rangers need to be successful. Now, people might say, well, you've been a big fan of what Ange Postecoglou did as a coach. You thought he did a particularly good job, and you've said it many times. And I think he did a brilliant job in Scotland in terms of that grindingly attacking domestic style. But then at the same time, you look at Ange Postecoglou in Europe, it didn't really set the heather alight, did he? It was nowhere near as good as what he was doing as domestically. So I think as a Rangers manager, if you want to perform in both, and I think for the finances to kick in at a level where Rangers can be a really, really successful and prominent European club, you need to perform in both areas. So it's how you do that. And I think what you need is a manager who's got a bit of pragmatism about them. to change up and have 2 or 3 different styles.
Yeah, I think your man Issam Sharai is key to that as well. I think by all accounts he seems to have a real good tactical brain and is able to identify weaknesses in the opposition and able to tweak things tactically. So I think, I think he's a very key component of that backroom team by the looks of things. Gone rogue with the point, an interesting one that Barry was quizzed on in his press conference. He said, what worries me is the Turks will play the dark arts. Expect that. Listen, if the tie is in the balance, then expect to see it. But Jose Mourinho's sides are always renowned for not playing really by the rules all the time. Barry was asked, are you prepared for some of the more streetwise elements that might come tomorrow, some of the darker arts? He says, yeah, and I think we need to be better at those things as well. I've mentioned that to my players. Sometimes we're too nice. We can't be nice all the time. I expect Fenerbahce to be like that tomorrow night, but I expect us to be a bit like that as well. That's been a criticism levelled at Rangers for, well, not just recently, but a number of years, Johnny. They are too nice, aren't they? So this is something that I see fans quite happy that Barry is addressing.
Yeah, I think in elite sport, you do need a little bit of devilment about you, don't you? You need to have that competitive edge to reach the very, very top, that obsession. It doesn't happen just through talent alone, unless you are an alien, a freak of nature, a Lionel Messi type. And I'm not saying that he didn't work at his game, he obviously did, but obviously he had a supernatural level of talent as a player and still does to this day. So I think what Rangers really lack right at the moment, Derek, if we're talking about for next season and retaining this squad, I think they need a bit of experience that understands British football and Scottish football. Now, you might not be able to get anyone in that's got that Scottish football experience because there's not many Scottish players of a level that would get to Rangers. I think that would be gettable. You can't go and get Billy Gilmore. You can't go and get Scott McTominay. You can't, it's just not possible. So I think what you need to do is potentially look at the guys who are available, who understand what British football is all about, and sprinkle that team with some of those guys, as well as continuing down this road of bringing in really, really talented young players who you can develop and improve for the future. I think the in terms of the key players in the squad, I don't think there's enough of those guys you can hang your hat on, like James Tavernier was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, or Connor Goldson was, or Alfredo Morelos was. And Rangers are still in the process of rebuilding the squad, and they absolutely need to do that. And once this takeover takes place, there's going to be a lot of work needing done on bringing players in and potentially, I think, still shipping a few players out. Although, to be fair, I think quite a lot of the deadwood has been moved out, certainly on loan. And we'll see how those deals progress into next season, whether or not Birmingham, for example, will want to pick up some of the players that they've got down there, whether or not players on loan elsewhere will end up signing on permanent deals, the likes of Rabi Matondo and people like that.
Yeah. Just on Fenerbahce, their away record in Europe this season, they drew with 20 by one apiece, and this is the group stage of the Europa League. They lost 3-1 away to AZ Alkmaar, beat Slavia Prague in Prague by 2-1, and had a 2 apiece draw with Midtjylland over in Denmark. The game against Anderlecht, well, they pretty much were home and hosed after the first leg in Istanbul. They drew 2 apiece in Belgium. So there's nothing there that screams to me that they're a good side away from home. So perhaps give Rangers fans a little bit of encouragement that they can go and get the job done tonight. And I very much think Rangers will get the job done tonight. I think it'll be, I'm expecting a really good Rangers performance. We all know Thursday nights are Rangers nights, and I think they will certainly step up and deliver. Interestingly, one player who was causing a few issues before Dujon Sterling came on last week, Johnny, was Alan Saint-Maximin. He hasn't been included in the travelling party. I'm not entirely sure why. It seems to be a bit of a falling out somewhere. He posted something cryptic on his Instagram last night. This is what he had to say, folks. He says, "It will take more than that to bring me down. When lies take the elevator, truth takes the stairs. It takes longer, but it always arrives in the end. If God is with us, who can be against us?" And it's Romans 8.31. So a cryptic message there posted by the Fenerbahce winger. Dujon had him in his back pocket when he came on, Johnny. Is that a good thing he's not travelled with the squad?
Yeah, I think so, because he's the one player that they have that's got a bit of pace and kind of directness out wide. So I thought he was dangerous, Derek, throughout. And as you say, Dujon and Sterling came on and did a really, really good job on him and kind of dampened the fire. And because it was burning, and there'd been a sort of 20-minute spell where I thought he had caused problems.
Getting some crosses in. Yep.
I think he's a good player, and he's shown that through his career. So more than capable of coming to Ibrox and giving them a spark of something. So for me, I would look at that and say that's a bonus that he's not playing.
Yep. There's a comment coming in. Is Fred available? I think Fred is available for this game for Fenerbahce, if I'm not mistaken. So he will be back for Jose Mourinho's team. Mentioned we're touching on team selection, who we expect to see starting the game. Now, Barry Ferguson spoke about Robin Proper yesterday. He says he's had a couple of training sessions. Ideally, I would love to have everyone available, but I will need to wait and see tomorrow morning if I have a full squad available. There are 2 or 3 I hope have come through at the session today. Now, based on that, I wouldn't have been starting Robin Proper anyway tonight, Johnny. I thought Leon Balogun was immense when he came on last week. I would be keeping the same formation. Said it before, the only changes I'd be making would be Leon Balogun coming in, Dujon Sterling on the right-hand side, and perhaps Ridvan for Jefty, and that would be it.
Well, I quite like Joshua's team, I've got to be honest. He's stuck his up, and he's gone with James Tavernier at right centre-back and Dujon Sterling at right-back. And I like the look of that. I've always said that I thought Tavernier had the attributes to play on that sort of in that area.
Yeah.
Allows Suter to sort of win the aerial battles alongside Leon Balogun when they come, and we know Fenerbahce have got threat in that area. But it also gives you an out ball in terms of driving forward with it, carrying it through the lines, and that's something James Tavernier can give you there. And obviously, if things aren't going well, if there's a problem, if Tavernier's not adapting to it, then you can all switch him with Sterling, push Tavernier out to the wing back, which we know he can play comfortably, and Dujon Sterling can play in multiple positions, not least right centre back in a 3. I like the idea of basically continuing with the idea that Barry had in the first game. Czerny being used as a kind of 10, getting close to Cyril Dessers. I think that caused major problems for them. And then Diamandi freed up a little bit by Raskin and Barron being in there. Also, that's 3 players who can use the ball, and I think keeping the ball will be a really elemental part of this game. You need to use it well. Josie has talked in detail about why not using the ball well was the problem for Fenerbahce in the previous game, and I think Rangers will not want to fall into that same trap. They have to make sure when they get it, they do something with it, something with purpose, something with intensity. You've got 3 players in the middle there that can use the ball as part of their game. So I think that team that Josh has put out, I'm in complete agreement with that. So that's Butland, Jefty, Balogun, Suter, Tavernier, Sterling, Raskin, Diamandi, Barron, Czerny, Dessers. So that's my lineup.
And with both, Dessers, of course, leading the line. He's mentioned earlier on, Iggerman coming off the bench at some point. He's been superb, in great form. Cyril Dessers, just at the right time. Certainly in Europe, he seems to come alive in these games. Very unfortunate not to take home the match ball last week. I can see him fancying this tonight. I hope we're hearing from Jose saying he's the best player in the world again after tonight. Because he certainly was last week.
Yeah, he was outstanding. And I always caveat anything I say about Cyril Dessers with the acknowledgement that I'm not as big a fan as a footballer. But you cannot deny his numbers this season. They've been terrific. Was it 22, Derek, for the season?
22, 23, something like that, yeah.
It's early 20s, that's for sure. I don't have the number to hand, but he's been excellent in terms of his goal return. He plays very well in Europe. He seems to be a player that just thrives in the European stage, thrives in that different style of game. And we know that he's done that in the past in his career as well. When you look back to that incredible run he had as the top scorer in the Conference League when he was with Feyenoord, and he was scoring goal after goal for them. So there's something about the European theatre that suits Cyril Dessers. I would play him tonight ahead of Igaman, who I think is having an understandable drop-off. He's a young player. He's getting used to the intensity, getting used to the atmosphere, getting used to the environment. And there was always going to be a stage where he fell backwards a little bit, and he's going through that now. You just gently reintroduce him back to the team. But the way Dessers is performing at the moment, certainly in these games, he has to start. And there's I don't want to go too far down this road, Derek, but there's definitely a connection between Czerny and Dessers. There's definitely a chemistry there.
Yep.
I wouldn't go as far as to say it's sort of telepathic in the way that we've seen strike partners.
The second goal was telepathic. That pass from Dessers into Czerny. I mean, nobody with a relationship doesn't do that, really.
Absolutely right, and that's what I'm basing it on. I know people look at it and say, "Well, what are you saying here? You were going a little bit far with this," but there's definitely a chemistry between the two of them that I think makes them both greater than the sum of their individual parts.
Yeah.
So I would have no doubts that that's the front two that starts, but you've got a wonderful insurance program there just waiting to be put into action, and that's Igaman, who can come on and give you something completely different. So
yeah,
I feel good about that front area, Derek, and how often have we said that this season? In that, I think you've not only got two players that are in real good form, you've got a little bit of pace in Czerny, but you've also got that secondary option should things not work out. And finally, it feels like there's a decent amount of chemistry, and in that sort of front two, I think there's something there for Ferguson to play with and manipulate and adjust as time goes on over the course of the season.
Yeah, I think there's goals in this for Rangers. I think this Fenerbahce defence is gettable. Just on the forward players, Nemi1872 says, could Igaman be a wild card for tonight? He's been struggling and needed took out the team, but surely tonight he must be used. He will be used at some point, but I think it will be from the bench. I would be surprised to see him start the game. He's not scored in a number of weeks, but I think he came off the bench last week and did a job, got a nutmeg in as well. I think that's probably the easiest bet if the betting shops take bets on nutmegs that you can have an Igaman nutmeg at least once a game, but I'm sure he'll come on at some point and play his part. Yeah, I agree with the team. The only thing, as I mentioned there, Shefty perhaps coming out for Ridvan. I thought Ridvan did well enough, but you feel more comfortable with Dujon Sterling on that right-hand side. Again, it's dependent on fitness if he can last the game. I'd imagine he wasn't able to last week.
I get that on Ridvan, Derek. I don't think there's much between Jefty and Ridvan.
No.
I think what Ridvan gives you an additional discipline defensively and probably a little bit more nous. I don't think, for example, that Ridvan is getting done in the way Jefty got done against Queen's Park in the goal. But at the same time, Jefty's physicality and power and the way he eats up ground, you don't get that from Ridvan. So there's pros and cons for either, and I don't mind anyone saying that Ridvan should be slotted in there. I can understand that point of view. I just don't think there's much difference, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. I would probably tend to go towards Ridvan tonight. And of course, he's playing against Fenerbahce. And I never realised, actually, last week he has never lost at Fenerbahce's ground. So kept that record intact last week. So he would have been proud as punch. I know he'd done a few interviews with Turkish media after the game. And yeah, he was fair delighted with the result. So let's hope we can go and finish the job. Of course, we know that who lies in wait should Rangers get the better of Fenerbahce tonight. It will be either Roma or Athletic Bilbao. It's 2-1 to Roma from the first leg. Second leg in Spain tonight. And if Roma do make it through, I think it's been confirmed that the Rangers will not go to Rome until the first leg, actually, because Lazio have also made it through, and because they finished above Roma in the standings, then they would get to play away first of all. So that's a pretty decent incentive. Of course, a lot of football to be played tonight, Johnny. But if I'm rooting on Roma tonight. If they can get through, I think having the second leg at Ibrox is a big thing, even though there's not away goals anymore.
Yeah, what a tie that would be. Quarter-final against Roma. Wow. Roma are a serious team in terms of their history, and that ground is incredible, Derek. I'm sure that's one that you would like to get back to in a sort of professional capacity, because I know that you were there previously before, I think, was it before Napoli?
A scouting mission on Napoli, Johnny.
Yes.
And I remember Roma played Napoli, and I think Napoli won, if I'm not mistaken, and before they went and beat Rangers, of course. But yeah, it's some ground, and yeah, I'm sure I'd love to see Rangers play football there. Bilbao, of course, someone mentioned it could be a dress rehearsal for going back there in the final. But yeah, of the two, I'd fancy Roma. I've got to say, Bilbao for me are just maybe a step above, I would say, at this point in time. They've got some quality players in there.
Yeah, and they're doing very well, or certainly were last time I checked in the La Liga.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Roma, there's also... Listen, I'm not saying Bilbao's not a big club, Derek. They are, but I think Roma are about as big a club as you can get that are beatable. You know, like they're a proper big European name, but they're also beatable. They're 7th in Serie A. So they're not having the best of seasons, and I definitely don't think they are the finished article. I don't think there would be all that much between Rangers and Roma, to be honest. Roma will obviously have a much bigger wage budget and a bigger squad, but I don't think it would be a huge gap and an insurmountable gap. So I would be looking at them. I think having the second game at Ibrox, I mean, can you imagine Roma? There's not much in the game. Say it's a draw or a very narrow loss. Roma coming to Ibrox for that second leg, it'll be absolutely bouncing. You know, that would be absolutely terrific. So, listen, you got to get past Fenerbahce. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Exactly.
We know that these things can happen, whereby crazy results are thrown up in European competition, and Jose Mourinho is not the sort of man you would ever want to discount. But Roma would be enticing, let's be honest.
Yeah. And of course, a huge match tonight. There's a small matter of the Old Firm game on Sunday as well. We'll wrap up with this. Of course, Rangers are bringing fans to Parkhead for the first time in a long time. Around 2,500 supporters will head to the game. I hate this. The fans have been told to assemble at the east side of the Emirates Arena to be escorted into the stadium for at 10:30, a full 2 hours before kickoff. That's rubbish, Johnny, isn't it?
Yeah,
I get why they do it, but it's not very good for me.
No, listen, it's not a great fan experience, is it?
No.
2 hours before kickoff, but understandably, there are security concerns around it. And one thing I don't like, Derek, is to pretend that I'm some sort of expert on things that I'm not, and I don't understand the risk analysis that's been done on this scenario, and why it's been done, and what the implications are of not doing it. But certainly, you would say it's not something that you would want to do lightly, or unless it was a serious problem. We know that the rivalry between Rangers and Celtic is huge, is bitter, but it's a scenario again where not long after you put up those pictures of going through the bowels of Fenerbahce Stadium in what looked like cattle cars, or you know, like what you would expect to see in an abattoir.
Yeah, I felt
now you have this where you've got a 2 hour wait. It's not great, is it, for football?
No, it certainly is not. I was hoping actually for the Rangers confirming the Fenerbahce fans would be bussed in from Aberdeen or somewhere remote, but just to sort of even things up, because that took an absolute age getting across Istanbul for that, and then of course getting through it. That being said, though, I've got to say there was no trouble whatsoever. Police were fantastic, having a bit of a laugh and a joke with them. And yeah, it was all hunky-dory, helped, of course, by the events on the pitch as well. But yeah, it was just a bit long-winded, I've got to say, but there you go. Right, we'll wrap up there. A big thank you to Jonny. How do you think it's ending up tonight, Jonny? You did say you're going to Ibrox tonight. It's going to be a cracking atmosphere, of course. How do you see it? Is it going to go the distance? Is it going to be wrapped up in 90 minutes?
Yeah, I think it will be. I think it's going to be a draw, 2-2. I think it'll be an eventful game where there is moments where Rangers will be concerned and moments where Fenerbahce will be concerned. I don't think it's going to be one team or the other dominating the game. There'll be ups and downs, a bit of a roller coaster ride. But listen, Rangers are in a very good position, Derek. And we just have to keep stressing this. It's an unusual situation for us as Scottish football watchers to be looking at a 3-1 away leg victory in the last 16. It's normally when you have that kind of lead in Scottish football, it's because you've played a lower light in one of the lower leagues.
Yeah.
That's not what we're looking at on this occasion. But I think because of that, you just have to be cognizant and aware of the lead that you have and not be tempted to fall into any traps about, like, we need to go and take this game and, this is Ibrox and this is what we do. I'm not having that, Derek. I'm having a cold, cerebral approach that is about, right, how do we maximise the opportunity to get to the quarterfinals here from the management team at Rangers? And I'm sure they'll do that. You've got Neil McCann will be thinking about that, I think, very, very deeply over the last few days. And certainly today with Barry, looking at all the ways that Fenerbahce could approach this game. But, are Fenerbahce going to approach this game by putting a low block on? Well, they can't. They can't do that.
I know.
They can only do that if they think Rangers are stupid enough to come at them and then hit them on the counter. So I think Fenerbahce have got to come and push on and try and win the game. And the way to combat that, I think, is to play exactly the same way as you played in the first leg, because it was so effective. Fenerbahce struggled so much, and you just the other thing is, Derek, you can play in a low block and it'd be quite exciting. Like Rangers were pretty exciting in Fenerbahce. They scored 5 times. 2 were ruled out over minuscule offsides. One of which, by the way, I don't even think was offside. That was exciting, but that was a low block. So it depends on how your opponent plays. That's what kind of gives you the excitement level when you play that way. And I think Fenerbahce have to come out. So, bring it on, I say.
Yeah, they have to come out, but I don't think they come out all guns blazing. I think Josie will set them up in a way to, they'll set up maybe similar to Rangers and see how Rangers are going to approach the game and then take it from there. But very much looking forward to it. And let's hope Rangers can come out the other side and look forward to that draw tomorrow. Right, big thank you to... you get pulled up with this last...
Decimal margins. That's what we're talking about. Thank you, Headkeeper.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, big thank you to Jonny. Big thanks to you all for tuning into the show. As ever, it is greatly appreciated. You can go and watch what Barry and Josie had to say at Ibrox yesterday over on the YouTube channel, folks. And as I mentioned earlier on, we'll be back with you for our team news reaction video. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff tonight, isn't it? So we'll be back with you when those teams dropped just shortly before 7 p.m. So join us for that, folks. And then we'll be back on shortly after the full-time whistle as well. Right, if I don't speak to you then, enjoy your Thursday. And I hope your team wins. Bye for now.